It's podcadzo.
Welcome back to Podcadzo, the official companion podcast to the well-known indie rock band Cadzo.
I feel like we don't mention that enough.
That it's our official companion podcast?
Yeah, we do this as a side project to the band.
Yeah.
The band is like the main thing, and this is the side project.
We do not care about this at all.
No, this is just for goofs.
Julian and I arrived to rehearsal early, inevitably. Well, Julian lives at the house, so we
arrived to rehearsal like a week early every week.
He's here. And this is something we do while we wait for others to get here. But we do enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, some of us enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, or else we wouldn't do it.
But yeah, we are a band. We make music. You should check it out.
If you haven't.
Cadzo on Spotify,
that
on
is
YouTube,
CADZO.
on Apple Music. Are we on what?
We're on everything.
Is this Amazon?
Amazon Music. We're on Dweezer. We're on Zappa. We're on Zippo. We're on Dingleberry.
Oh, I love Dingleberry.
Yeah.
Lossless.
Dingleberry's where I go for. That's like audiophile. Dingleberry.
Truly.
What was Neil Young's? Pono? Do you remember Pono?
No. Are we on Tidal?
We're on Tidal.
Yeah. I had Tidal for a long time. Have I ever mentioned that?
So, yeah, to me, I don't know if we've talked about it on the pod.
I was a Tidal, confession time. I was a Tidal guy for years. I think I got Tidal in like 2011 or 2012, and I had it until like 2016.
Tidal was Jay-Z's venture, right?
It was like Jay-Z, Jack White, Chris Martin had toes in it. Okay. It was like a bunch of people.
That makes sense. While you were into it, it was Jack White and Chris Martin.
Yeah, my two favorite
You'd buy
fellas.
anything they're selling.
Yeah. I bought some of that Chris Martin bathwater off Temu.
Oh, was that a real thing?
No. Probably.
I wondered if he was actually selling bathwater, sure kind of like Gwyneth Paltrow. His ex was selling those jade eggs.
Yeah. No, but she was selling that shit for like thousands of dollars.
Oh, Chris Martin shit was going cheap?
I'm sure.
Bathwater?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Interesting. Pono, which is Hawaiian for proper, was a portable digital media player and music download service for high-resolution audio. It was developed by musician Neil Young and his company Pono Music, which raised money for development and initial production through a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. So it's kind of like Tidal.
Oh, he was like, give me money so that I can do this thing.
It failed to launch. It used high-resolution 24-bit, 192 kilohertz audio instead of the compressed audio inferiority that MP3s offer. Anyways, getting off track immediately.
Oh, there was a track, huh?
Well, I have a couple videos I want to show you.
We're going to be down here for a minute, right?
Yeah.
There's no need to
I'm just saying.
Push me through your weird little
We don't have to get right
crunch.
into the agenda. But I'm just saying, later on in the episode, we have some, I'd say, pretty relevant music industry news items to cover.
I don't know.
You may or may not be familiar with. And other than that, this will be more or less another off-the-cuff episode, which we've been so desperate to do lately. Last week was like kind of half off-the-cuff. We had Hooli on, and other than that, we were talking off-the-cuff.
Yeah,
I feel like there was some more to catch up on.
I made this whole speech about how we need to get back to our roots, and then, we're the most ourselves when we're talking about nothing. That's when this podcast is thriving the most. But contradictory to that statement, our most structured and our most organized and thought out episode of Podcadzo is doing by far the best right now of all of our episodes. So I think I might have been wrong about that.
As soon as
Maybe
that one took
people
off,
do like
we actually need to put work into this.
We need to have people on the podcast who know what they're talking about, and then we sit back, and then that's when the podcast
if we could have
thrives.
a Thomas level subject matter expert on every episode and we just sit back, that'd be delightful, because I enjoyed learning from him too.
Oh, he's a great teacher. He was gonna be a teacher. He still is gonna be a teacher
of yoga.
He was gonna be like a school teacher, and now he's gonna be a yoga teacher.
I wanted to talk more about yoga with Thomas on the episode, so we'll have to have him back on.
It's Tomas.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I knew that. I'm just saying Thomas for some reason. Thomas.
You're trying to be like
Thomas,
politically correct or something because he's like brown. You're like, oh, it must be Thomas.
Well, I feel like I know people with that spelling too, who you pronounce it Thomas.
Maybe Tomas. I don't want to dox you too much, Tomas. I'm sorry. That's how you spell Tomas's name, though.
Well, it's in
We
the
need
podcast
to have him back
episode.
on and just talk about
Tomas, I'm so
Tomas as a
sorry for
person.
saying Tomas 2 or 3 times there. Super embarrassed.
Yeah, you should probably just hand the reins over to me. Let me handle this episode from here on
might
out.
ruin any chances of Tomas returning. Maybe I won't get to talk about yoga with him.
No, we should have a yoga pod with Tomas. And
Do you ever do yoga?
Also, no, not really. I've done a little bit, but not consistently. I've never like signed myself up for a yoga class. I've always just done yoga because like it's part of like a group activity or like, you know, some shit like that. There was one time when I tried to do a couple yoga positions because my mom was like super into yoga, and I couldn't really do them very well because I'm not very flexible. And I don't think you really have to be flexible, but
No,
for
that's
me,
what yoga's for. So you there.
yeah,
It's supposed to be judgment free, but it's hard not to judge yourself when you're doing yoga.
true.
I went through a period 2 years ago where I was like pretty dead set on becoming like a yogi. I was doing yoga like actual classes like 4 or 5 times a week.
Whoa.
And I still enjoy doing yoga. I just don't do it as much. I kind of started running more. And there's actually this interesting school of thought in running that you shouldn't really do yoga or stretch too much. Because if you stretch too much, contrary to popular belief, you're actually more prone to injury. Your tendons, according to some people, should stay a little tight and more elastic.
That seems really counterintuitive to everything I've ever been told about running.
There's a feel though, like there have been runs where I'm like really stretching my hamstrings beforehand, for example. And then as I'm running, it feels more delicate. Like my hamstrings feel more delicate in a weird way. So like just from a feel thing, I can kind of see where people are coming
And like
from with
afterwards, are you like more sore afterwards if you stretch more or less?
that. I'll tell you what, I'm sore as hell right now. Because I've been
That's 'cause of
running a
something
lot.
else, though.
And, yeah, well, it's for several things. One of them's running and not stretching. And I got out of bed this morning, and my left knee's killing me. My right quads and glutes are in a horrible state.
Tough.
And so I'm thinking maybe I should ramp up the yoga a little bit more. But I read this book called Born to Run. Did we talk about this? I feel like I've bothered everyone I know about Born to Run after I read it because it was really a life-changing book. I'd been a runner for a while. Like since I was a kid, I'd go on jogs occasionally. At least once a week, I was like going for some sort of run. And then around COVID, when I couldn't go to a gym, I started running like several times a week. And just without really knowing what I was doing. And then that slowly ramped up to where I was running a lot. And I was like, I should probably actually like learn something about running. So I read this Born to Run book. And it's well known and credited for starting that whole barefoot running thing. When those barefoot Vibram shoes took off?
Yeah.
That was the same time Born to Run was published.
Got it.
And they're very much related.
People are like hiking in those fucking shoes too.
I went for a trail run with the shoes one time
You
and
fucking-
broke my pinky toe and never wore them again.
What did you think was gonna happen, bruh?
The whole time was as soon as I started running and like felt how exposed my feet were,
Like,
I was
this
like,
is a bad idea.
I'm kind of nervous. And then I got really tired and was lazy about picking my feet up and just slammed my pinky into a rock.
Ouchie.
It was bad. Anyways, Born to Run. I won't spend too much time on this. It's probably not that interesting to listeners, but it's this guy who was a magazine writer and he did like some men's fitness writing and he wrote for other magazines. He was always like kind of a fit guy, but he was a little bit out of shape and a little bit overweight. And he was running and he got what felt like a nail went through his foot, but it was actually plantar fasciitis.
Okay.
And he saw his doctor and his doctor was like, humans aren't really meant to run. You just stop doing this. It's like that. Did you ever watch Louis? Louis C.K. Do you remember that episode where his back hurts and he goes to his doctor, and his doctor's hilarious in that show. His doctor's like, humans weren't meant to stand up. You just should lay down. And he was like, that's the end. I can't do that. But anyway, so he didn't accept this from his doctor. And was like, there's people who run, 100-mile ultra marathons. There has to be another answer. So he starts doing all this research and he finds this very mysterious kind of hidden tribe in Mexico called the Tarahumara. And they're known for being a very nomadic plains people. And they run for like every day for miles and miles. Like they'll do 60, 100 miles a day just running across fields, and they find these different cliff areas to dwell in for a little bit, and then they'll run to the next area, and that's life. And they all run barefoot. And so he starts studying the
They didn't have
Tarahumara.
shoes back then, did they?
Well, this was like in the early 2000s,
Oh, okay.
and they were still a modern tribe.
I was thinking like
Yeah.
tribe.
So
like
he
Ooga Booga tribe.
he goes on this mission to Mexico to find the Tarahumara, who are very elusive and difficult to find. And he ends up tracking them down through the help of this mysterious gringo, a dude from Colorado, actually, that they call Caballo Blanco, the white horse. And it turns out his story is he was this kind of crazy dude who was an amateur boxer in Denver, and his life kind of fell apart, and he heard about the Tarahumara, and he just uprooted and moved to Mexico and like lived in a hut and just started living like the Tarahumara. So he finds this dude, and see, I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on this, but it's very interesting. It's hard not to. And
There's a lot of layers here.
yeah, and anyways, through various connections like that, he finds these kind of out there thinkers about running, and the thesis of that book is that the more expensive your running shoes are, the more likely you are to get injured. That Nike kind of ruined running for everybody in the anatomy by creating these like very comfortable, thick bottomed shoes that allow you to have bad running technique and like doing heel strikes and all this stuff. And that really like humans are born to run, and our foot they're designed to run on.
But how though?
Well, so
How are you supposed to run?
there's several things. So I'll go deep real quick. Evolutionary scientists
is still on the fence, by the way, not confirmed.
Yeah, a lot of this is proven through science and research.
No, science is all
a lot
theoretical.
of these are theories. True.
You can't prove anything.
You're right.
Evolution.
And there's one thing we've been firm on this podcast is that we don't really trust science, and that you should always do your own independent research.
We always say that, but then we never actually do it.
I just look up other people who've done their own independent research and claim that as
on
my own.
Facebook.
Yeah. And I just look for the research that confirms what I
already
thought
believe.
already.
Yeah.
So evolutionary scientists, for a long time, it's been a debate. Like, how did humans beat out other versions of people that like, because Homo sapiens coexisted with Neanderthals, and by all statistics, Neanderthals should have been the ones to win in the evolutionary race. They were stronger. They were like more built for extreme weather, all this sort of stuff. And it had been a theory for a while that maybe humans are good endurance animals, and that's why we rose to the top of the food chain. Or we're good runners, we're good at running. And immediately you can disprove that by saying, well, look at any other animal. They're faster than people. There's animals that can run longer
They have
and
way
further.
more endurance, yeah.
Yeah. But through a bunch of crazy research, there was actually these thinkers in this book that found cases of like tribes in Africa who survived by chasing gazelles and deer till exhaustion. That although gazelles can run for a really long time and can run fast, humans, if they grow up doing it, can actually run further and tire gazelles out. And there's a bunch of interesting things about how the human body's built. One, the fact that we're bipedal, obviously. Two, the shape of our feet, like the arc of our foot, is unlike any other animal. They believe it's for built for running, and that we're supposed to run on like the ball of our foot, and that's really advantageous for the way that our foot is built. Any other animal or most other running animals, like a rabbit, when it runs, the way it's built, it has to take a breath every time it does a stride. It can't control its breathing based on its running. But humans, the way our lungs are designed, you can hold your breath and run for So that's really good for endurance. The way our like neck and head is positioned is like really well optimized for a bunch of stuff like this. So there's a school of thought that's actually that humans survived this long and became
Because of endurance.
so
more
dominant
than anything.
because we're good endurance athletes.
Okay.
Not
Not me. If I go up a flight of stairs, I'm ready to lay down and die.
So that's like modern society and the way we live. It's so far away from encouraging running that it's a problem. And so the writer of this book truly believes that humans are born to run, and if people ran more often, like we're supposed to, like we've evolved to do in a lot of ways, we'd cure the world of all its ailments, both health-wise and...
But like evolutionarily speaking, also, like you said, ever since you're a kid, you've had like a desire to run sometimes. Like even if it's just once a week going on a jog, you've had that desire to run forever. I've never had that. There's genuinely never once been a moment where I've been like, I want to go do physical exercise.
Yeah.
Like never. Maybe, well, no, not never. When I was a kid, like, yeah, I want to go ride my bike. I want to go play basketball. But never just like, I need to run. And in adulthood now, it's like, I haven't ever once had the thought cross my mind of like, I should run. And the one time when I like pushed myself to go to the gym regularly, I was running a lot on like treadmills and stuff. And then, my actual doctor was like, you should stop doing that. Treadmills are horrible for your knees and your hips. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. So I just stopped.
Well, so that's...
and started doing the stair stepper instead, which is nothing like running. It's still very like engaging from a cardiovascular perspective, but it's not even the same... It's not any of the same motions as running. It's a lot less like organic, I would say, than running. So
yeah, a couple things there. So several years ago, like a lot of orthopedic doctors, I guess they were agreeing that like running is the worst thing you could do for your knees and ankles, and you just shouldn't do it. But I guess there's research that if you run the right way and build up to it the right way and do it consistently enough, that it can actually strengthen your knees and stuff.
It's like
over
anything.
time. And
if you do it the wrong way, it's going to fuck you up. If you do it the right way, it's going to...
And with running, you have to be really careful about how you like ramp up the mileage and stuff. You should add on like only 10% each week. So if you're doing 1 mile this week, that's how much you're running all week. You should do 1.1 mile next week and not exceed that. So you got to be careful about that. And then I do think not every, like he makes it as broad as everyone should run all the time, but there are obviously like different types of people. Like if you're in the game and choosing your character, some people are Vikings, some people are elves, you know?
Yeah.
I was born a tall string bean dude, like, you know, in the video game, that's how I was selected. So I do think I have a physique that's more conducive to running than a lot of people. But I think everyone could still benefit from it if they do it the right way.
Yeah. I guess it's just my perspective on it was more just like from an evolutionary standpoint, like that desire to run, if that desire to like run or chase or whatever always existed in everybody at some point, it definitely doesn't anymore. Like that started
it's just been weeded out of
dwindle
people
from
over
people's
evolution.
DNA,
and it has
for
really
a while.
So
because some people are totally content, and this is another thing, like that's just, you know, person to person. Some people are totally content to never do anything besides sit around and eat food, and that's fucking great. You do you, like, and some people are only content when they're continuously like pushing themselves physically. Like obviously there's athletes, but there's just also like regular people who every day go to the gym because they like feel that desire inside, that like it's an innate thing that pushes them. And I'm sure that more people feel that the more regularly that they do something. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like smoking a cigarette. The first cigarette you smoke, you're like, oof. But then like after pack 10, it feels pretty fucking good.
I would dread going on runs a lot when I first started doing it more often. And now, like, I have to do it for, like, mental health. Like, I just start anxious. And then, so the thing is, why the Tarahumaras are so interesting to look at is because they're a very contained gene pool. And they have not changed their way of life since, like, early humans, pretty much. They are living that same, like, nomadic tribe life. And so you can look at the Tarahumara and say, well, this is how we would all be if we didn't advance the way we did, it would suck to have to chase down a gazelle every time you wanted a snack. So there was a lot of incentive to get out of that way of life. And with, Western Euro culture, the Industrial Revolution and all that, like people, and it's in our DNA to seek comfort.
I think the flip side of the innate human desire to be physically active is the innate human desire to do as little as possible.
Exactly. And that wins out because that serves our evolution better, So.
Yeah. And also, I think the whole, like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but like the whole conversation of like how, like, sometimes for a while people thought running was like the healthiest thing you could do. Then there was that period of time where, doctors, people that studied human anatomy and physiology and all that shit and mental health, they were all like, running is actually really bad for you. And people have said the same thing about like lifting weights and swimming and all that bullshit forever. It's like certain things work better for certain people, and it's not like a one size fits all approach. Some people could run for like, years and arguably like never really like it more than when they started, even if they get way healthier. The end result isn't about like the activity that you're doing. It's about like wanting to like look better and take care of yourself and preserve yourself for longer. So I don't know. I think it's all just kind of in a way stupid. Like people are going to do what they want to do. But saying running is bad isn't going to stop runners from running.
Yeah.
Like saying smoking kills you or causes cancer doesn't stop people that want to smoke from smoking.
And on the flip side, saying everybody should run because it will cure the world is also a little bit naive because it's just not the case anymore. But
what about quadriplegics? You expect them to just run their problems away?
There are corner cases. They admit that in the book. We got here from stretching though. Yoga.
Yeah.
But a lot of the like kind of out there running coaches who are on like the barefoot running and don't buy expensive running shoes said don't stretch before running. Like, it just it's going to make you more prone to injury. So
it's a very interesting thought.
Yeah. But yeah, Born to Run, super interesting book to read. I recommend check it out. And then it's also there's just so many great stories in there. Like the guy finds this guy in Arizona who discovered the Tarahumara in the 80s or early 90s and brought them out to Leadville to compete in the Leadville 100. And these guys, right before the race, went through a dumpster and found discarded pieces of like a rubber bike tire and just strapped that to the bottom of their feet and ran 100 miles with rubber on the bottom of the feet and won the Leadville 100.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So there's just cool, interesting stories like that throughout the book.
Okay,
so good read.
If the stretching theory applies to running, how come it wouldn't apply equally to like just physical activity in general? Like playing a sport and stretching beforehand, like clearly that helps. Like if you're playing like a 3-on-3 basketball game and you don't stretch, like you're fucked. Or like me, if I don't stretch before I like play a set, then like I get cramps in my arms and my wrists and like everything's tired after 2 songs. But if I stretch for like 5 minutes, that doesn't happen.
I'm not an expert on this shit, but I think just different types of movement. And a lot of running coaches encourage stretching, but like a specific type of stretching. Like if stretching your hamstrings, don't reach for your toes like and hold that for 30 seconds, but instead do toe taps, and that like keeps the elasticity in that tendon a little bit more.
That makes a lot more
sense. But with running, it's a very steady. With jogging, it's a steady movement that you're doing over a long period of time. But with basketball, it's like, you're doing a lot of, you're turning on a dime, you're sprinting sometimes and walking other times. So I think you got to be a little more stretched out for shit like that.
That makes sense.
But I'm not a physiologist.
No, that does make sense. It's just, it's an interesting thought to have because, I don't know, just everything intuition-wise in my brain tells me when you run, especially when you do like endurance running, you want to be like as loosey-goosey as fucking possible. You don't want like partially tense anything. And like the stretching has always been more for like the preservation after the fact. Like you want to stretch so that you don't wake up the next day and feel like
that's
shit.
What they like. If you're gonna stretch after a run, do a little cool down stretch. Yeah. But I don't stretch before runs anymore, and I have not had any injuries in like 2 years of running a lot of miles every week. So I think there's something to it.
Okay, so now completely unrelated topic that is nothing to do with what we've talked about at all so far.
Good. We spent enough time on
in
running.
this podcast. Sometimes I've noticed that you censor you, but not me.
Oh,
what's up with that?
So
you trying
I
to just make me look like I don't know.
No, there's
piece of shit over here.
3 reasons for that. One,
my presence doesn't matter.
I censor everything that both of us say within 5 minutes of time.
Mm-hmm.
2, I'm lazy.
But sometimes, like,
So
I didn't notice this until recently, but sometimes I'll be like an hour into an episode and you'll still be bleeped, but I won't be.
Part of that is just I'll be randomly in that episode and I will either think it's funny, just like random to bleep me. And I've done it to you. I've randomly bleeped you in episodes. That's just where it gets lazy. And 2, so I'm getting disorganized. 1, I bleep any cuss words within the first 5 minutes because I heard one time
you should do
because it helps with the YouTube,
yeah,
which obviously is not helping us anyways. But just in case, I bleep everything within 5 minutes.
That's tight.
And then it would get too tedious to bleep everything outside of 5 minutes. So once we reach the 5 minute mark, I let it ride. 2 is what I was just saying. I think it's fun. Like sometimes I'll just randomly jump ahead in the episode while I'm editing, and one of us will say, and I think it's random just to throw a bleep, and then I'll just do it for the sake of it.
Okay.
3, I assume you're okay with cussing because you do it a lot. You curse a lot more than I do.
I can't help it.
Yeah,
it's part of my vernacular.
I'm also okay with cussing, but because I'm more judgmental of myself. Sometimes I'll be listening to the episode. I'll say a curse word. Thing. Well, yeah, but do you want me? I should have. You're right. I should have asked you. Do you want me to bleep?
No, I don't care. No, at this point, I don't think I could. Like, I have to try really hard to not curse. Like, just in normal conversation. Like, if there's like Thanksgiving dinner, for example. With Kelsey's family, there's like a baby there, like a young child, and I can't be at the dinner table like, fuck this, eat shit that, fucking penis, whatever that is I normally say. And so I have to like get in my head.
Penis in the show. It's just to be clear.
Sorry, I'll redact that. But I guess the point is just, I have to actually really think very hard to not curse. And that's because curse words to me don't have any negative implications other than when you say them like in a negative context, obviously. Like if you say fuck this, then that's negative. But like the word fuck itself is like just it's like a more emotional way to convey what you're saying. So because I'm very extreme with my emotions, I think that's why I use curse words more. And there's actually a study that shows that your curse words in your lingo are like more directly connected to your emotional sensors in your brain.
For sure.
So they can like trigger more, like if you're angry and you say a curse word, they can like trigger that angry dopamine in your brain to like go even more.
I curse a lot too. I kind of hold myself back a little bit on the podcast, but I do let like curse words fly from myself outside of that 5 minute mark. The only times I've censored myself on the podcast is when I feel like I've like come across a bit harsh or a little too crude on something. And then I think those are kind of the characters we play on this podcast a little bit too.
I'm the crude one.
You're a little more crude, and I'm a little more diplomatic.
Yeah, but these
lack
aren't
of a better term.
Characters. This is just who I am.
Yeah.
No, I lean into my.
You lean in cursing more. I step away from a little bit more. I
wouldn't even say I lean into cursing more. I just lean into being more curmudgeon-y on the podcast and being more of a jerk on the podcast because it's like funny and stuff.
That's the
balance.
character thing.
Yeah. But the curse words are completely organic when it comes to that. I don't really think about them when I say them.
But
I wasn't thinking about it that much until I started noticing. I think it was honestly on the Tomas episode where you were.
That's the recent example
and
that's really the only time where I've bleeped myself recently, like in the middle of an episode.
It was just funny because you bleeped yourself like twice in a row, and in between those two bleeps, like I cursed
a lot.
profanely like twice in a row. And
one of those bleeps was because I felt bad that I maybe came across as a little bit too harsh on some. I forget what we were talking about, and then I threw the second one in just for good measure because I thought it was just random,
sure,
just to throw off the cadence a little bit.
Totally.
But if you want me to censor you, I will do so.
No, I don't care. I just thought I thought there has to be a reason somewhere. Like, why am I the one that's a piece of shit on this podcast? You know?
Well, no, I don't think you ever come across as a piece of shit for cursing.
It's more the things I say around the curse words.
It's just your vibe, I guess.
Yeah, it's just who I am and the things that I believe in.
No, you're lovely. I'm kidding.
There was another instance of, I forget what episode it was, but I said something. I said like a kind of I said a pretty offensive thing. I think it was on an episode that Sandman was on, maybe. And we all started laughing like super hard, and I was like super stoked for it to be in the pod. And then you cut it out because it was just way too not cool. And I had the realization of like, oh yeah, like other people are gonna see this, and people that we don't know are gonna think that I'm like,
I don't remember that
horrible fucking. It was just an offensive joke, essentially. Like, I made a joke at a group of people's expense that I don't actually feel that way, but like, you know, people on the internet that don't know me would maybe assume, especially because of the way I look, that I'm just like one of those dudes that actually kind of thinks that shit's true.
No,
I'm not like a Shane Gillis or like a fucking. I'm not like a Tony Hinchcliffe where it's like kind of tongue in cheek, but I also kind of mean it. You know,
fuck
like,
Tony Hinchcliffe.
It's all just actually purely satire or irony.
Irony.
Yeah, fuck Tony Hinchcliffe, dude. And fuck Rick Beato also.
That's something I wanted to get. Let's table the fuck Rick Beato for a second.
Table that.
Because I did want to give you an opportunity to talk Rick Beato more on this episode.
Let's go.
I have some quick video/music industry things to talk about. If that pleases
Hit
you.
me.
Okay,
Hit me, baby.
Did you hear about this Bill Burr and Billy Corgan thing?
I did not.
I just learned about this yesterday.
Okay.
It blew my mind. Let me play this video first before I give you any background, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I will mention this is a video from Howie Mandel's podcast. I do not watch Howie Mandel's podcast. I learned about this and saw the clip, and this is the clip we're going to see.
Howie Mandel seems all right.
Oh, hey, what's up? Sit down. You're an asshole.
Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan. Yeah. I'm an asshole? Yeah, I thought this would be great to bring a family together.
He didn't tell you. He told me you were totally cool with me coming.
That's what he does. That's what he does.
I thought it would be
so
a
then,
good
like,
surprise.
can this be like edited out, or no?
I can go. I mean, you told me Bill was.
All right, fuck it. No, I'll do it. Like, did you ever think the fact that I never told that story, that maybe you shouldn't? Did you ever? You know how many fucking like emails and crap
Are
that
they
I got?
actually
like,
family?
I sort of like went away from that.
So let me just fill in. Let me just fill in.
Do we talk on a regular basis?
We've never met.
So Billy Corgan was nice enough on my podcast to talk about the fact that he told a story that he had never told before, that his father traveled.
My stepmother said to me, "Do you know who Bill Burr is? Bill Burr might be one of the children that your father sired in his days on being a traveling musician."
If you do the math,
he was a piece of shit.
And
he had two kids this close together, and he named them the same fucking name. He thinks it's different because
Isn't this crazy, man?
Wait.
So Bill Burr.
I don't believe this. The setup for this. It seemed like a bit.
It seems like a bit.
It seems like a bit.
So
it's Bill Burr does look very uncomfortable, but he's also an actor, you know?
For the audio listener, what we're watching is Bill Burr is on Howie Mandel's podcast, sitting in a chair.
Similar.
Billy Corgan is brought in from out of nowhere, and Bill Burr gets a genuine look of
kind of startled,
annoyance, and a little bit startled. So the backstory is Bill Burr and Billy Corgan are actually half brothers. Bill Burr's dad had two families. He one in Boston, one in Chicago.
Is this something that Bill Burr knew?
Not until like a couple years ago, I guess. And the story came about, and it was a private thing between them. And then Billy Corgan told it on Howie Mandel's podcast. I'm not sure how I didn't learn about it then, because this is so in my lane. I'm a big Bill Burr fan. I like the Smashing Pumpkins. This is like kind of crazy celebrity gossip, which I'm into as well.
And Bill Burr knew about it by the time Corgan had said it on the podcast, but just didn't know. Bill Burr didn't want to make public, essentially.
Exactly. So I think Bill Burr was really annoyed then that Billy Corgan went public with this, because it's a very personal thing that we're further perpetuating. But it's like anyone's going to learn about it from our podcast.
It's already out there. And this is such a Billy Corgan thing to do too.
Well, so
he's such a textbook, just like almost, I don't want to say narcissist, but it borders on narcissism, where it's like every interview he does, there's always that weird story of like, oh, well, my childhood was actually super fucked up and this weird fucked up thing happened to me.
Yeah, so you can tell Bill Burr's pretty viscerally mad at Billy Corgan, and then he's even more mad at Howie Mandel, because this is like an ambush.
Total ambush, which is also a total Howie Mandel move too, just like reality TV. Let's ambush a motherfucker, that'll be hilarious.
And then what Billy Corgan says later on is that why he told it on the podcast in the first place is because Howie Mandel, he ran into Howie Mandel like outside of a studio somewhere, and Howie Mandel said, "Oh, hey, it's Bill Burr," making a joke that they look alike. Billy Corgan got all wide-eyed and said, "Wait, how do you know that story?" And Howie Mandel was like, "What do you mean?" And
then so that's when Billy Corgan should have been like, "Oh, nothing, I misheard you."
But and then what doesn't excuse, like, that excuses Bill Howie Mandel finding out about it to some extent, but does not excuse Billy Corgan telling that story on his podcast.
It's a fucked up thing to do.
So then what's even more fucked up and why they look very similar.
I've never connected the dots there.
Yeah.
They kind of just both look like bald white guys.
It's very hilarious to watch this thing, because it's three bald guys just at varying levels
both kind of have
of
equal levels of surprise too.
Yeah.
And do you think Howie Mandel actually told Billy Corgan like, "Oh, Bill Burr's totally cool with this"?
So he lied. So that's why Howie Mandel's such a piece of shit in this. He lied to both of them. He didn't tell
either of
Bill
them.
Burr that Billy Corgan was coming out, and he told Billy Corgan that Bill Burr was cool with it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So I found out.
Keep playing.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Billy and I'm Bill. Like, that's how we told the difference.
Well, I was Bill when I was young, but you're right. I mean, with all respect.
I just thought.
All right, well, whatever. You know, it's not that I don't like him. It reminds me of all of that shit. So, you know, it's like,
it just seems more of the same from what I've been hearing.
All right, whatever. I mean, I like your music.
Appreciate that.
Okay, great.
Would you? It'd be cool if you let your brother play drums.
Well, the fact that he said he can't sing, I think that sort of disproves that we're related.
What a
I'm not funny,
dickhead thing to say.
What I mean? So it goes both
He did
ways.
just admit he's
What
not funny,
an absolute dickhead thing to say.
And then Billy Corgan says, "Well, I'm not funny." So I guess it goes both ways. But yeah.
Oh my god, what
Such
an
a
absolute
douchebag.
fucking dickhead, bro. I just lost a lot of respect for Billy Corgan, to be honest, because
Really, that's what did it? I would expect Billy. I think
it's just like, but
it's a very uncomfortable
but
situation. I think he was trying to be funny.
You could also like, he could have called Bill Burr or like shot him an email, maybe, I don't know, and been like, "Hey, like, just so you know,
I get the vibe.
Howie Mandel like hit me up. Like, yeah, they've never met or whatever, but they had to have like talked on the phone at some point.
He
just
could have hit
before
him up about
just,
this.
Yeah, just like, "Hey, Howie told me that this
Well,
thing that you're okay with
I don't
this."
blame
but,
Billy
like,
Corgan for that either.
It just seems so unlikely that Bill
you should
Burr
be
would
able
be
to
okay
trust
with
Howie
this.
Mandel being like, "Oh yeah, Howie said Bill's cool with it. I don't have to. I don't have to
He's
verify
just a Hollywood
that."
fucking scumbag. He's done
He is
shit
a
like
total
this for his
Hollywood
whole
whore.
career.
Yeah.
His whole career has just been ambushing people and calling it a fucking prank when it's actually like emotionally damaging to somebody.
Billy Corgan's a douchebag in a lot of ways, and very much disliked in the music industry for a lot of reasons. But I don't think Billy Corgan's the bad guy in this situation. I think it all falls on Howie Mandel in this situation.
Ultimately it does fall on Howie, but I do still feel like to be someone that pretends to give a shit about someone else's feelings in that regard, but then also make a joke at their expense like 30 seconds later, makes it seem like a little bit
Well, I think he
arrogant
was
and
just
also,
trying
like,
to ease the tension a little bit. But
I've never even been in the same room as Bill Burr, and yet I know for a fact that you don't want to try to cut the tension with Bill Burr in a fucking moment like this when he's clearly very upset.
Look how
making a joke about his dad that he literally just said he hates thinking about is not going to make him be like, oh, you're right, Billy. Like, you solved the mystery. We're friends now. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
And Billy Corgan knew that You Can't
Very
Sing
awkward situation
fell
for
short
both
and was
of them.
about, and so he immediately says, and I'm not funny,
I'm
obviously.
I fucked up.
Yeah. So anyways.
Listen.
You've done well for yourself. I'm happy for you. You know, but I just would prefer if you just kind of didn't
Fuck
go
off.
around. No, not telling these fucking stories. Like, why did you feel the need to do that?
Okay, can I give you the setup on all this because it's his fault.
You can do whatever you want because you kind
No,
of
I'm trying to
already
be
did that.
Okay, I'm trying to be respectful.
Now
'cause-
you are.
Okay, no wait. He told me you were cool
You're a
with me.
Cubs fan? That fucking tracks.
Theo Epstein.
Fucking Wrigleyville. Bunch of cunts. South.
Brings it back to sport. Which is very fun. Like, it's funny that the half brothers, one is Boston, one Chicago. Like, two very
It's crazy, dude.
like
This is literally
douchebag
like a
cities to be
sitcom.
from.
Like,
I know.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Here, I'll just play a second more because Billy Corgan's about to explain the story I told earlier.
Sides where it's at. What's up?
Do you want me to tell the story?
Yes.
Okay. So, he owns about 80 buildings in this area. I don't know if you know how rich he is. But anyway, so I was working in another building and I came out the building, and the first thing he said to me was, "Here comes Bill Burr." And I said, "Do you know that story somehow?" And he said, "What story?" So I told him privately that story. He said, "Oh, you got to say this on the air."
Yeah, but he always does that. Because that's the
See,
thing.
that's what
He's
I
been-
said. He always does
does
that.
that.
He's known for that. Okay.
And that's the
sorry.
jump that's
The whole
inexcusable,
thing-
is going-
The whole thing is like, I personally feel like Billy Corgan maybe should have connected some dots here. Oh, Howie Mandel has a podcast where he has people say things that are like never told before stories. That's like his whole hook on the podcast. And he's also like known for kind of like being slightly emotionally manipulative and kind of a douchebag. And like, I guess Billy Corgan never obviously would have known Bill Burr was going to be on his podcast or whatever. And this never would have happened otherwise. But like, I don't know. Billy Corgan should have just called Bill Burr and been like, you know that thing that you told me to never tell anybody? Well, I told Howie Mandel by accident. Like, just so you know, like I told Howie Mandel. And that way Bill Burr at least isn't like completely fucking blindsided later on. Like, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of context clues there to like where this could have been totally prevented and it wasn't. And I feel
like
bad for both of them, but mostly just feel pretty bad for Bill Burr in this situation. Like I have trouble feeling bad for Billy Corgan.
Like I said earlier, that story excuses why Howie Mandel would know privately, but then Billy Corgan just goes to, "Oh, you should tell it on air." Okay, I'll tell it on air.
Sure,
Why
I'll tell
not?
it on air. Yeah, can't see any backfires there.
Yeah.
Like it's not. It involves a whole other person that's also super famous and.
Yeah. Sorry, bro. Let's pause 1 second. I gotta pee. I'm too hydrated.
Oh
today.
man! All right.
Can't
I'm just gonna
focus.
keep watching this.
Yeah, keep watching.
in here not because he's trying to heal the bullshit that we went through growing up. He's getting here just for the fucking ratings. I mean, the guy literally accepted.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that. He said, Bill Burr literally just said, Howie Mandel's not doing this. He's not bringing us both into this room to try and fix the bullshit that we went through. He's bringing us both into this room for views and clicks on the internet, because that's literally what Howie Mandel is trying to do. He's not concerned with fixing things for people or, you know, building new relationships or whatever. He's interested in people watching his content, and things that are interesting are things that are like emotionally harming to people or whatever. Yeah, this is fucked. This is fucking stupid. I can't believe that I didn't know about this. All right, I'm going to try to mic this up for the rest of it since Colin's peeing anyway.
Accepted a fucking award in the middle of a podcast. I'm supposed to be promoting my special, and he's over here like...
You can do it. March 14th on...
Like, that's good.
Yeah, so Bill Burr came on to promote his special is what he's saying, and now he's being bombarded with personal shit that was never supposed to be public.
Like, that's gonna help now.
I still love you though, even though you did.
But
this.
it's not about
Okay,
me.
so now what
Love
was supposed to happen? Are we gonna go play catch? We're both in our 50s.
My arm is still good. I gotta say.
Do you like wrestling?
Like what kind of wrestling? the real shit or like the...
So Bill Burr doesn't seem like... He seemed really mad at first, but he seems like towards the end he's lightening up a little bit. Like he's cooling off.
He's
but
just such
it's
a-
you can't really like... Yeah, he's a professional.
He's such a pro.
You can't blow up. He was very precise with all of the things that he did say, where he was like, you know... right after you went upstairs, he basically said Howie doesn't give a shit about fixing our brotherhood. He gives a shit about views on the internet, which is very true, and that's the only reason Howie did any of this was for views on the internet. So
and he got
aside,
exactly what he
like,
wanted, because this clip is on Howie Mandel's
I'm sure it's probably
channel.
like his top 10.
Yeah, and it has a clickbaity title like Bill Burr, Billy Corgan ambush goes horribly wrong.
Family
or
reunion
something.
gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Howie Mandel has no regret he got exactly what he wanted out of this.
Yeah. It's a very manipulative thing to do, and I feel pretty slimy about it. I would feel really slimy if I was Howie Mandel, but Howie Mandel probably had no conscience for the last, 25 plus years being famous. He's just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be number one.
So how I found out about this is from a different video where Bill Burr, because Bill Burr's promoting a stand-up special, so he's doing the junket, and it was a different thing, and it had Bill Burr talks Billy Corgan dispute or something like that. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I wonder what that was about. And it was a different interviewer bringing this up, and Bill Burr says, I can't, it's hard to be mad at Howie Mandel because he's a likable guy, and this is what he does. He's a Hollywood whore. Like, this is his thing. So I don't think there's any hard feelings ultimately about it, but isn't that crazy that they're
That's insane.
brothers?
Well, are they? That was going to be my final question here. Did they actually get a DNA test or anything, or is it
I
still
don't know.
just kind of like a?
I mean, it seems like because Bill Burr, neither of them says, "Oh, we're not sure about this." It seems like it's a proven thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Weird.
And they look very similar.
They do
Outside
look
of just
very
being
similar.
bald.
No, their facial structures are
Yeah.
the same. Their noses are the same. Man, that's crazy. Billy Corgan is such a fucking douchebag, bro. I love the Smashing Pumpkins. I love their music. Billy Corgan's just not the man, though. He's never been the man.
Okay, this next video, if you haven't seen this, this is one of the most drooling videos I've ever come across, and it just happened a couple days ago. So if you haven't seen this, I'm going to be pretty pleased with myself for finding it.
Is this like a meme, or?
Yeah, meme related.
Okay. Oh, yes, I did see this. Yes, I did see this. I literally, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can watch it first.
I am rectangular. I feel it in my bones. I am rectangular.
Okay, so for the listener, what we are watching is, and Julian would be better at explaining this than I would be. So go ahead, explain what we're seeing.
There's a lot of lore here, first of all. And I must say, this ties in to something that you showed me a couple weeks ago, that YouTube channel,
Catatonic Youths.
which had featured some Sean Stevens. Basically, and I think I've shown you the Sean Stevens IG before. He was one of the people that I maybe wanted to do a blurb about back in the day, when we did our new Clown Order shit. Which, by the way, I no longer endorse New Clown Order. That dude is horrible. I unfollowed him a long time ago, and he's only gone further and further downhill.
Consider taking that video down.
Maybe we should.
He was very different. He had a very different social media presence when we got him on the show.
He was like on the tip of the iceberg right when we interviewed him, and it's been sinking ship ever since. Like, he's crazy now. But anyway, that's off topic completely. Sean Stevens is just like a dude with an Instagram, basically, who makes music and TikTok probably. I'm assuming he's mostly on TikTok, and Instagram is like the byproduct of that. But in any case, he makes songs that I would say are like mostly for the internet. Like he makes songs and puts them on social media. He plays shows and stuff. He's like a real musician. He's also the CEO of a company. I don't know what the company is. He's Canadian. He's a CEO. He's a musician. He's got a lot of things under his belt.
Dude, this guy's the man.
But he has this song that got really popular on TikTok and Instagram about being rectangular, and that was the song that you just heard. I am rectangular, I fill no hole, I am rectangular. It's a pretty good song. Honestly, it's a very catchy song. I think it's good. His voice is good. It's a good song. It's not like a joke. It's kind of a joke song. He leans into the fact that he's kind of a joke.
The way he presented it was cringy. Because it was like, the way I saw it was like, watch me sing my song in Times Square.
Yeah.
And then he pops
I flew
like,
1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. His whole setup for everything on Instagram is cheesy. But he also leans into the hate. He's like, I know that you guys hate me. Like, he wrote a song about being hated. It's called like, if you want to hate someone, hate me. It's like a rock song about, how he's chill with the haters on the internet hating him. Because he's still gonna do his thing. He's gonna cook no matter what. We just gotta let bro cook.
Let him cook.
So yeah, that's Sean Stevens. Basically, he exists on the internet. He has that one really popular song, Rectangular. And then we all know about Jordy Greep because I've talked about him, I would say, relatively tirelessly on this podcast between Black Midi and then the solo stuff.
You're one of the world's top Jordy.
I'm in the
Greep
0.001 percentile of Greep listeners for 2024 because I listened to his record literally like 3 times a day when it came out. Very good record. He's a super talented musician. He did this interview like on, I don't even know the podcast, but it was like 3 months ago. He was on a podcast. The lady asked him if he's ever gotten into TikTok, and he was like, no, I've never gotten into TikTok, but I watch Instagram Reels, and there's this dude on Reels, Sean Stevens, and he sings some really good songs, and then he showed her the Rectangular song on the podcast, and then like a day later, he was in like Germany or something, and his band played the Rectangular song for the first time at one of his shows. And the audience kind of started going crazy.
Okay, I didn't know this
It's
lore.
a global phenomenon. I told you there's lore. And then a couple months go by, right? And then what is this, like 3 or 4 days ago? Greep is in Nashville at the Blue Room, which is Jack White's venue.
So that's where it could, like, I was like, Sean Stevens and Jordy Greep. That's already so Julian. And then I noticed the Third Man logo. I was like, oh my God. It is now officially the most Julian thing to ever happen. That Jack White is in the mix.
That's how I felt too. I felt like that video was honestly made for me.
Yep.
It's at the Blue Room in Nashville. So yeah, Jack White's venue. Jordy Greep's band played a set there, and then they start strumming the chords for Rectangular. And in the audience is Sean Stevens. This is all for the listener, of course. Just so that you guys don't assume that I'm just rambling about nothing. Because this is for you guys. I'm explaining this in depth for you guys so that you know the lore.
I speak for them welcome. When I say we appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Sean Stevens comes up out of the audience and sings Rectangular with Jordy Greep at Jack White's venue. When I saw that video, I was sitting in bed. I saw it in like the morning. I think the morning like after it happened. I showed it to Kelsey immediately because, I mean, obviously Kelsey knows about my little problem with Jack White. I've shown her the Sean Stevens shit about 1,000 times because it's pretty entertaining for me at least. The fact that it was at Blue Room was just like the final thing for me where I was like, did God tailor this video just for my algorithm? Because it literally gave me such a boner. Like right away I was just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And leave it to someone like Jordy Greep to find, actual talent. But it's funny and it's talented. Like it leans into the Sean Stevens shit, in my opinion at least, kind of leans into the internet bullshit of like not being serious, but it does it in an actual way with substance. Like the lyrics are creative, the music is creative. It seems like he kind of writes all that shit himself. Like he's not just like finding pre-recorded shit on the internet and then tracking vocals over it. Like they're all original songs. And Jordy Greep is also just such a perfect culmination of like humor and talent. Like,
Yes.
and he's such a strong presence on the internet, and Black Midi's always been a very strong presence on the internet as well. I feel like they have that like cult following where it's like internet nerds who just rally for Black Midi and Jordy Greep. And so that worlds meet kind of moment where it's like no one else but Jordy Greep would have the insight to do that and have the follow through to keep it going for months. Like,
yes,
not keep it going and like beat it to the ground, but just bring it up in a casual way and have it be like really original and
that's
fun.
what's respectable about
and
this
engaging.
is that it's earnest and not some.
And the whole audience freaks out.
Yeah.
Like, they all know what's going on and they all really like it.
So yeah, I had expected you to see that one.
Highly great
but-
video. I don't know if this is shooting for the stars too much, but Sean Stevens, clip this. Sean Stevens, if you ever happen to see this video, feel free to come on Podcadzo. I'd love to interview you.
Yeah,
I think
be
you
a
would
dream
be
guest, Sean Stevens.
really fun to talk to and give us a lot of really good insight into like not only balancing like work life and music life, but also just kind of doing whatever the fuck you want and not giving a shit about the haters, which is something I think we all could use some advice in. So Sean Stevens, come on the podcast. Don't be afraid. We don't have that many viewers.
So I found Sean Stevens through that Catatonic Youths YouTube channel that I mentioned. And I've been into Catatonic Youths for a while. Benson found a Catatonic Youths video, so we were talking about it, and we played it for Julian. And it was a compilation video of TikTok music is cringe. It was so funny playing it to you because you knew almost every single person in the video and had like your own relationship with them and like you were genuinely fans.
Yeah, cringy music on I guess mostly TikTok, but for me it's Reels.
Yeah,
is like my staple.
That's your bread and butter.
That's my bread and butter.
I thought I had a very quirky, specific taste when it came to content and memes and cringe, and you are that to the nth degree. You've turned me on to some of my favorite shit.
I think at this point in my life I could, and this is I think most people feel this way because everyone has their own like stash of memes and their own collection of things on the internet that they think is like really funny. I think I could teach a college course in like YouTube poop and just like overall TikTok and Reels brain rot, because that's like that's my ultimate category is just the brain rot. And also I could even hyper specialize in like TikTok music and Instagram Reels music because I follow a lot of them unironically. Like, I just think that the story is fascinating. Like, I've shown you Just Tatum a few times, or just Tatum, I guess, because we thought it was Tatum, but it is actually Tatum.
Is that dude still doing stuff?
He still posts like every day, and then that's the type of shit that's amazing to me because it's like the bro has real hustle, and he's doing like cameos for people. Like, a lot of what he posts are just like, hey, I made this cameo for someone, so people are ordering cameos from him a lot, and he's just consistently posting, and it's like, I just want to know the story there. Like, how much of it is pursuit of creative endeavor and how much of it is trolling? When does it stop being trolling and start being actual creative expression? And he's just one example of like hundreds. Like, I follow so many people on Instagram. I was checking the other day, I think I have like 400 followers, and I follow like 1,500 accounts, and like 3/4 of those accounts are meme pages, and of that 3/4, at least half of that is just Instagram and TikTok musicians who are just fucking wild,
and the
bro.
rest of it is just the most absurdist shit you could imagine on the internet.
100%.
I've shown probably 5 or 6 people Hoopify's account since you've shown it to me, and I think all of those people
Hoopify, come on the pod.
They think less of me. All of those people.
Yeah, well,
no one has found it funny.
Did you blame? Really? Well,
Yeah.
but that's probably because they don't know the full lore.
I've tried explaining.
Like, in order to think Hoopify is funny, you have to know about the Costco guys and the Rizzler and Baby Gronk, and like, there's a lot of.
I've tried to give them that lore, and it only makes things worse.
Yeah, but you work with a bunch of like old.
No,
people.
these are
they're
like
just
cool,
people that
young,
are
hip,
friends.
hot friends that I hang out
Well,
with.
they should know better then, because. I mean, fuck, we're the same age. You kind of missed the boat if you weren't on iFunny in like, I don't know. If you weren't on iFunny in 2014, then you're not going to think, or yeah, if you weren't watching YouTube poop in the year 2012, like you're not going to think that cringy shit is funny.
Our brains
now,
got wired a very specific way for very
I think
unappealing
that just dumb
type
shit
of
is funny
comedy.
just because of how dumb it is.
Exactly.
I'll laugh hysterically at some shit, and Kelsey will just look at me and be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
That's exactly.
And
that with
Hoopify is
Julia.
honestly one of those things, like, and the Costco guys. Like,
Well-
I love the fucking Costco guys. I love them so much. And Kelsey is just like, these guys are so fucking dumb.
When I'm feeling low energy, tired, and I'm in the mood for only brain rot, very specific type of brain rot, I seek out Hoopify and watch it. And Julia just gives me a disgusted look when she's overhearing it on my phone.
The
She's
way
like,
that
"What are
he
you
looks up at the
watching?"
camera is so fucking
It's
good,
so,
bro.
it's so funny.
The way that you can't just
He's
immediately...
such a genius. He
He's
knows exactly.
such a genius. No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They know what they're
He
doing.
knows what
it
he's doing.
seems like it's just stupid brain rot. It's
No.
all very tactical performance, and it's all like... Some people on Instagram, they find like the one thing that people laugh at, and then they just do that forever, and it gets really stale and old because they don't find ways to keep it fresh. Hoopify like does the same thing in all his videos essentially, but it's always a different experience. You never know exactly
and
where
the
it's going to
fact
go.
that everything it's the same thing over and over again is funny.
Yeah,
It's part of it.
yeah.
So, anyways, yeah.
No, I think maybe we should circle back in a later episode too, because I've had this idea since we started the pod of doing a full episode of reels where it's all musicians that I've found
I think
to
that'd be
show
great.
you. And yeah, it's been an idea that's floated around for a long time.
I think we should just make it a regular segment.
just check in a little
Just
bit.
check in.
Yeah.
Open
I don't want it
up
to be
the
like
pods
your
with-
mom's house though, because they always
Yeah,
did
I
that
don't
on
wanna
your
put
mom's
too much
house.
weight
where it
on
would-
the
but then they
clips.
would just be they would lean on the clips, and then they would also just roast the motherfuckers for being trash. Like I'm not trying to just make people look stupid on this podcast. I'm genuine. Sometimes I am. Like the another callback to the what's his name?
Guitar Bay,
No, the other guy that we were just talking about.
Rick Beato.
No. The guy we had on New Clown Order.
New Clown Order.
To go back to New Clown Order, I guess I kind of brought him on that pod because I wanted to make him look stupid a little bit, and then he accidentally... Well, he did make himself look pretty stupid at a lot of points.
Well, he was being
But
evicted
he
from his
also-
apartment
Yeah.
while he was on the podcast. I felt bad grilling him too much.
It seemed like a wrong place,
He
wrong
was-
time to really dive
kinda
in.
did it
So,
himself.
yeah, exactly. He made himself out to be a little bit of a fool that time, and the whole
And
point was to bring him on and kind of roast him, and we never really got there. But the point with some of these other musicians isn't necessarily to roast them so much as it is to just have that genuine look in of what's going on here. Is this real? Is this fake? Does this person have creative endeavor behind what they're doing, or are they just doing cameos? Or and also some of the Instagram musicians put out these songs that are just really fucking catchy and entertaining, and
Oh yeah,
at the same time that they're really goofy and stuff. So
Catatonic Youths has turned me on to a lot of songs I genuinely like.
Mm-hmm.
And Fantano actually just the other day did an Instagram Reels YouTube video
interesting.
from a judgmental Instagram music is horrible angle.
Okay.
And the reels he picked out were all terrible,
Mm-hmm.
actually. And his were random. He just opened Instagram, and he just showed the first things that popped up in the algo. So, but he had good, thoughtful analysis of it as well. So it was a good one. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I think that covers it. Oh, New Clown Order. First of all, we've talked about this, but we were first to him of the major podcasts. Now I've seen Chris D'Elia talk about him, and I've seen Your Mom's House talk about him. Your Mom's House is obsessing over him. I
Your
no
Mom's
longer
House
watch
was
Your
a
Mom's
full
House.
year
but-
late to that party.
Yep.
Yeah. And no, they waited to jump on the bandwagon until he was truly horrible, because they're also truly horrible.
They are.
Tom Segura, I have mixed feelings about Tom Segura. He's okay, though. At the end of the day, Tom Segura is okay. He's still kind of funny, still kind of doing it for the comedy. Christina P. can suck a bag of dicks all day, every day. She's
pretty horrible, huh? Yeah.
Horrible person. And, I kind of feel the same way about Bert. Like, he tries, but he's a horrible person.
I despise Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
I have since he became a big thing.
No,
I think
person.
he's hack. I think he comes across as a liar. Everything he says sounds like a lie.
Compulsive lie.
Anyways, but we never really talked. We never did a postpartum on the Stu episode.
No, because I think at the time I was personally hoping that it would go in the direction of him, like kind of what he even told us on the pod of like, I'm going to be really famous in like 2 months. Like I was hoping that he was about to get like TikTok famous for being like
in that new Pee Pee Poo Poo Man movie.
Really?
Yeah, he's in the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man.
What the fuck is that?
Did you ever watch Kenny versus Spenny?
Mm-mm.
No. Kenny versus Spenny was, I think it was on MTV. It was one of my favorite TV shows for a hot minute when I was a kid because it was the most crude, vulgar, vile show I'd ever seen. And Kenny and Spenny are two Canadian comedians. They lived in a house together. And Kenny versus Spenny was basically just like a prank, extreme prank show where they did different battles every week. So the one that sticks out of my head was they did a competition to see who could have a goat tied to them for the longest. And it was just things of that nature. But I think they're both comedy writers. They never really did anything after that as far as I know. But then this Pee Pee Poo Poo Man movie is Spenny from Kenny versus Spenny, Spencer, whatever his last name is. And Stu is in it.
Cool. Well, good for him. I guess he wasn't lying when he said he was going to be in a movie.
He made a lot of promises when he came on the podcast.
He said he was going to be the lead. And the movie was going to be about him, about his life story. But anyway, no matter what the case, I thought he was going to be just like funny and trendy for doing all of his goofy dances that he was doing at the time. And
that's all I knew about him.
Lip syncing to all of his hip hop shit that he used to do. But then he started getting really creepy and saying really creepy shit and just being a fucking creep. And I remember asking him on the podcast too, like, hey, like, you're kind of weird with women. Like, what's up with that? And then he was just like, if you just take what you want, man, then... anyone, like, it was basically some Trump shit. Like, when you're rich and famous, you can grab them by the pussy. You can do whatever you want. And that was kind of his attitude. And I was trying to be like, well, that's...
I remember him being a little more respectful
weird,
than that.
But his message at the end of the day was basically just that.
Yeah,
he was nicer in the way that he said it.
Take that down.
But then, yeah,
I don't know if we should be associated with.
I guess funny lore on the backstory of that whole thing is, I think I told you this before we even shot that episode, that my girlfriend really did not want us to do that.
Yeah,
she was like, "This dude gives me the creeps. He's fucked. Like, you should not have him on the pod." And then he turned into exactly what she said he was going to turn into, which is just like a total fucking sexually deviant creep. So yeah, if you do happen to see that episode before it gets taken down, that was a different time. That was no longer... That was a different Stu McKenzie.
All I knew about him...
Or not Stu McKenzie. That's the lead singer of King Giz.
It's like Rosen...
Stu Clown Order.
Rosen something. All I knew about him was the couple videos you showed me where he sang and did funny dances. So I thought that was his presence.
That was.
And then we posted that clip on the clip of you showing me his video on the pod, and he responded to it, and he came on the pod. And then when he was on the pod, he was actively being kicked out of his apartment. He was on FaceTime with us, packing up his shit. The landlord or whoever kept coming into the room and yelling at him.
Like, you have 30 more minutes.
I thought it was crazy embarrassing. So we cut out a lot. In the editing process, I cut out those bits because I was like, I want to know. I don't know if I would want this to be on the internet if this was me. But it doesn't matter because, let's just take that whole episode down now that we're talking about it.
People will know about it because we talked about it right now. So that'll be how it lives on.
What's important to know is we got him first.
We beat
Tom Segura.
Yeah, we beat everybody else. And we also, I think, we got on the bandwagon and it was cool, and then we got off the bandwagon
at the right time
before it got shitty. Because, now it's pretty shitty. I haven't followed that dude for a long time on Instagram. But you know who I have followed for a really long time on Instagram, who would be a good podcast guest? Sean Stevens.
Sean Stevens, please come on the podcast. All right, my next music industry hot piece of buzz is, do you know DJ Academics?
Never heard of DJ Academics.
I hadn't really either until today, but then looking at him, I realized I did know about him. Did you ever follow that YouTube / like Twitter and Instagram page, The War in Chirac?
I don't think so.
It was a pretty it followed the, do you know Chirac as a term? Okay. Yeah, it just followed all the gang stuff in Chicago and around the drill scene there. So he was like a reporter on that. I don't know if that's how he got his start, but he was like, you know, a music industry journalist. He had a, you know, he had a big web following. Somehow, I guess that got twisted into him just being the mouthpiece for Drake now, which is already a stain on his name.
Oof.
Like, my understanding from some of the stuff I've read about today with him is that he just, that Drake uses him to get messages out, essentially. So he's like Drake's crony. And then why I heard about him today is because, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, I'm just bringing it up because I thought you might know about it, or that some people might find it interesting. He got banned from Twitch for having an explicit conversation with a 15-year-old boy.
Gross.
That I listened to parts of, but turned it off just because
it was too foul.
And it's just fucking stupid. But I wanted to bring it up in the context of Drake. Even Drake's crony, his mouthpiece now to the music industry, is grooming 15-year-olds on Twitch. So Academic
learned from the master, you know,
gets the podcadzo
doom. That's horrible news, honestly, and I wouldn't expect much more from a person of that nature, I guess.
Yeah,
but it is weird. Like, I guess as far as the Drake thing is concerned, because he's suing or threatening to sue UMG. I don't know if the lawsuit's like official.
I think he's tried suing consistently.
Well, the first one, I don't remember exactly how this is different from the first one, but this is like an actual lawsuit. I think the first one was more of like a request for, like a request for them to like take down, a cease and desist, like take down this song or else.
I think you're right.
And now it's like an actual lawsuit.
Is it for is it for libel or something like that?
It's UMG that he's suing because he's saying that UMG and Spotify essentially colluded.
Which is Kendrick's management group, right?
Mm-hmm. And Drake's too. I think they both are under UMG.
Right, I think so. I think everyone's under UMG.
Pretty much, yeah. But I guess, yeah, the Drake alleges that Spotify and UMG together were colluding to boost the performance of Not Like Us.
That's right. That's right.
Artificial streams or more bot streams or whatever you want to consider the lingo to be. But at the end of the day, obviously, it's more of a defamation suit of like Drake's worried about his reputation being damaged because of the amount of times that the song has been played. I think he's just trying to like disguise that as, you know, UMG is pushing Not Like Us. But Spotify and UMG both independently came out and said, there's like no reason for us to want to do that. Like, we gain nothing from Not Like Us having a shitload of streams versus any of Drake's shit. Because they're on the same group anyway, so it's like if Drake performs well, that is just as good for them as Kendrick performing really well. They don't give a shit at the end of the day who's performing well, so it's kind of an interesting argument. But, you know, one thing that Fantano also said in a recent drop that he made was a point that I take to heart, that, you know, Drake is literally throwing stones from a glass house at this point, because he's spent the last decade pretty much sneak dissing every rapper around him or near him or whatever, just sneak dissing in tracks and releasing full diss tracks that are baseless and completely
And when he gets a
fucking
taste
stupid.
of his own medicine, he cries to
As
mommy and
soon
daddy.
as anyone shows him what a real diss track sounds like, he's just like, oh yeah, this is clearly bot plays. No one actually fucks with this.
Yeah.
It's just weak and pathetic. And also the amount of people, it's kind of like the same thing with Kanye, where like a bunch of people know that Kanye is like a Nazi and that he like loves Hitler and shit, and that he like loves Trump and he's like a big MAGA Nazi type fella. People just are like, well, whatever, his music's still good. I'm still going to support Kanye because his music's still good. And even though it's been shit for the last like 10 years, it's kind of like the same thing where it's like people know Drake's a piece of shit, and people arguably even know Drake's shit is pretty mediocre, but they just keep listening to it because it's like
It's brain rot
there,
music.
and it's exactly, it's brain rot. It's there, it's accessible, it's easy. You don't have to think about anything really when it's on, and it's catchy. And at the end of the day, that's pretty much all that people care about. So it's crazy. I think Drake is the worst rapper of the last like 15 years, like hands down the fucking worst. Like
I would go, like, if I thought about it too much back in the day when Drake was in his peak, when I was in college, I would get depressed. That I was like, this is the state of music. Drake is the biggest artist in the world. That's what we're about right now.
I would go full Rick Beato. Like,
I would
oh
go
man,
Rick, yeah.
shit used to be so
Should
much
be
better
used-
before
yeah.
this shit was popular.
Yeah. I would say, why don't people care about Emerson, Lake, and Palmer as much as they care about Hotline Bling?
Yeah. Why aren't there more major 7 chords in music these days? What happened to
God.
all the bridges too?
I could just tell that Drake's shit wasn't being written by a professional songwriter at the end of the day.
Drake's shit is literally all hooks. His songs are just one giant bridge. There's never anything besides bridge.
Indeed.
So that proves Rick Beato wrong again too. People still love bridges.
To change gears to good music, have you heard the new Viagra Boys single?
I haven't listened to it yet. I did see they announced a record called like
Viagra Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a self-titled album, but not quite.
I kind of like that.
I do too.
And I did really like the artwork as well.
Yeah.
Like blow up doll, weird looking blow up doll type thing. Yeah, pretty cool. Haven't listened to the song yet. How's the song?
Song's solid. And check out the music video.
Okay.
It has one of the catchiest choruses as of recent years. And then it's the first song I've maybe ever heard where a burp is incorporated. A belch is incorporated in a very cool way. There, let's just listen to the first chorus.
What's that dude's name?
Sebastian Murphy.
Yeah, that's such a Sebastian Murphy thing to do. Burp in the chorus of your song.
Should I play the first verse?
Yeah, sure. I saw
so you can hear the burp?
Yeah, do it. I saw the like weird fake press release thing that they made for Instagram where
That's
it's like him
part
talking
of the
into
music,
a bunch of microphones.
Part of the music video.
I thought that was really cool. So it's catchy, like more poppy than their older shit.
It sounds like Viagra Boys, but yeah, this is a little bit
like more produced.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more produced, but little catchier. There's the burp. It's subtle, but did you hear it?
No, play it again. Did that just happen on accident and they left it in?
I like to think that.
How could you time it like that
I don't know.
every time? That's great.
I'll read the lyrics real quick too, because it's very Viagra Boys lyrics. Like, do you know the Viagra Boys song "Best in Show"? Mm-hmm. It's very Best in Show. So the verse 1: overweight freaks ride around on wheelchairs motorized by electric motors made by goblins in a factory overseas, and that's where the burp is. They're there to buy drywall and other products that they can eat back at home on the sofa. They watch TV. They watch TV about a man named Chandler Bing who died in a freak hot tubbing accident and spent his time drinking hot dog flavored water on a popular TV show called Tub Girls. Which is just a bizarre, because wasn't Chandler Bing his name on Friends?
Uh-huh.
So it's funny that he uses his exact name on Friends, references dying in a hot tub, and then makes up the TV show called Tub Girls.
Tub Girls.
Why would you not just say Friends?
I don't know.
So anyways.
Because he also did die in a hot tub,
He died in
right?
a hot tub accident.
Weird.
Mm.
So he must have just
he
must have just written those lyrics then too, because Matthew Perry died.
That was a while ago. That was a couple years ago.
I thought it was in 2024.
Or it might have been 2023. Matthew Perry death. Yeah, October 28th, 2023.
Oh shit! I thought it was like early 2024 for some reason.
Did you ever watch Friends? Were you a Friends guy?
I did do a Friends run one time. Me and Bobby, I think, actually wound up watching Friends together way back in the day at our old place. I'd never seen it, and it was on Netflix, and I wanted to just know what it was all about. The first 4 seasons are fucking solid.
Uh-huh.
And then it gets really bad after that. Like, I definitely finished the last season one time, but then I never went back to the last season. I rewatched the first 4 seasons maybe like once. But after like I want to say like after the halfway point of season 5, the show just goes so downhill. It's just such a unredeemably bad show after that.
I think I only watched like the first season through, but I've seen probably every episode at some point, just like in a hotel or being on TV somewhere.
Totally.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was Kneecap, the band.
Okay.
Yeah? You know Kneecap?
No, I've never heard of Kneecap, I don't think.
Wow. You would love Kneecap. Kneecap is an Irish hip hop trio from West Belfast. Kneecap has come up on the show before. Connor brought him up one time. We were talking about the IRA for some reason, and Connor brought up Kneecap. So they're a pro IRA, Irish Republican Army band, and they make kind of satirical, absurd, socially conscious, political rap
gonna be
music.
in Denver.
No, I'd love to go to that. One of their shticks is that one of the members of the band wears a ski mask that is the Irish flag, which is like an IRA thing. I only wanted to bring them up because Kneecap has been, and back to our running topic, Kneecap has been coming up a lot in my running playlists. And I decided the other day to throw on their 2024 album called Fine Art and listen to it all the way through. Amazing album. Had I been aware of Fine Art and listened to it within 2024, I feel comfortable saying it would have made my top 10 albums of the year for 2024.
Oh, shit.
Yep. So check out Fine Art.
I have added it to my library.
Cool.
It's a cool cover, too.
Isn't it? I don't know how I think it's either Greer or Grier. I don't know how you pronounce his name. But the singer from Fontaine's DC is featured on one of the tracks on there, too. They have a lot of good features on that.
18 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But only 38 minutes.
A lot of them are interludes, or it's rooted in kind of classic hip hop. There's a lot of sketches, a lot of cool interludes, a lot of studio chatter sort of stuff. So big fan of Fine Art. And then what other Kneecap is good? The one that was getting put on my playlist a lot was Get Your Brits Out. Which is a single they did in 2019. I think that was like their first big single that kind of put them on the map. Get Your Brits Out, which is a banger of a track. But yeah.
It's their most popular song on Apple Music.
Big kneecap. Oh my God, this is amazing. I'm seeing they're on Elton John's Rocket Hour.
Oh shit, that's pretty big.
I'd like to watch an Elton John kneecap interview.
That's cool.
They're good Irish lads. And I think we should really get behind what these guys are talking about. Okay?
Yeah, I love the IRA.
Let's endorse these young men. Oop the fucking raw, as they say. Notre Dame lost the championship game to Ohio State.
Okay. And?
I was hoping Notre Dame would win because I'm Catholic.
I think you're still going to be just
stream
fine.
of consciousness.
The Catholics are still going to...
coming up with.
Catholics are still going to come up on top of most things, I feel like.
What else? Anything else from you?
Shit, man, I have nothing. I think... Well, here, I guess let me check. But as far as new music, there hasn't been any new music that I've really cared about lately.
Any updates on Rick Beato?
No updates. I mean, that video that we talked about in the last episode, I've shown a couple people that at work just because I kind of felt like... I don't want to say I felt like a dickhead for like overly criticizing that. Mm-hmm. But I showed a couple people that video and they all had pretty much the same reaction that we had, which is like, this is fucking stupid. Which I guess kind of just led me to my question of who is reaction videos actually for? Who actually watches reacts? Because I've never met anyone that really actually watches reacts. And especially reacting to reacts. Like,
yeah, which is
I've
still
never
the most
seen anybody
insane shit to me
that
ever.
watches that type of shit on like a regular basis. So.
Shout out to Hooli last week. He texted me today and said, listen to the episode. Y'all's stuff was funny at the beginning. Ripping on that dude. He sounds like such an ass. Shout out Hooli. You get it, bro.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the only Rick Beato update is that other people also think he's a stupid dickhead too.
Cool.
I guess so. The Bright Eyes records. Have you ever been a Bright Eyes guy?
Oh yeah, we've talked about Bright Eyes.
I'm Wide Awake.
Bright
It's
Eyes
morning.
is Julia's.
Oh, they're like
favorite
her shit.
artist.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oberst is her man.
But yeah, so I'm Wide Awake and Digital Ash both just turned like 20 because they came out on the 25th of 05, I believe. So I went back and listened to those records, and they're both fucking incredible. Like, I haven't listened to Bright Eyes in a minute, but I'm having a bit of a Bright Eyes phase right now because those records are both super good. And they made me go and listen to Down in the Weeds, where The World Once Was, which came out in 2020, and that record's also a fucking banger.
I got a really... Julia actually got that for me for Christmas for my birthday or something. Really cool limited vinyl release of Down in the Weeds, where The World Once Was, with like cool colored vinyl, and I listened to that record a lot. It's really good. Oh,
I did also want to mention this record from 2024 that I missed, which is just called What a Fucking Nightmare by The Chisel. Have you heard of that record?
No.
I think they're British. It's like a punk record. Very like kind of first wave punk vibe, but
cool.
New punk.
2024.
I think you would really like that record. Yeah,
once
again called What a Fucking Nightmare. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Honestly, like... Oh,
I've been listening to Chinese football a lot. Thanks
Chinese
for
football
recommending them.
Bangs. I'm still heavy on my Tanaroan kick, too. I don't remember if I brought that up.
Yeah, you mentioned that last week.
Yeah, the Amaterasu album from Tanaroan is... I'm listening to it like once a day right now. It's so fucking good and groovy.
They're amazing.
Yeah, the Chinese football band is really good, and I think that their trajectory is super interesting too, because like only 2 records and they've been around for 10 years, and they've been pretty much, it seems like, riding the coattails of their first release for most of it. Like they still get a lot of press out of that record, so I think that's interesting. But their newer record's also really cool too. I think that's pretty much it. There's a St. Vincent show that got announced in Denver not too long ago. She's going to be at Mission Ballroom, so try and pull up to that if you...
I was hoping you'd say Mission Ballroom. It's the perfect place to see St. Vincent, I think.
I think Jack White's going to be there too.
What?
Yeah.
Vincent. All right.
It might not be Mission where Jack White is.
Oh, not with St. Vincent.
No.
Okay. I was
If
like,
it was
that's
the
crazy.
same show,
Yeah.
that would be fucking insane,
I thought you meant
bro.
it was like leaked that he would make a
No,
guest appearance or
the
something.
St. Vincent show is in like June, I want to say. The Jack White show's in May. But yeah, I think that both of those shows will be tight.
Right on.
And Chat Pile in March.
Ooh, I'll go to Chat Pile.
Pull up.
All right. Well, that's what I call an episode of Podcadzo.
That's what I call a full episode right there, baby.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We love you and appreciate you. Julian, thank you too.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
And that's it. See you next week.
Bye.